All right, I've just been waiting on Zergu. Looks like he is finally ready to go.
Very good.
All right, let me know when everyone's ready. Should I?
Okay, yeah, he is ready to rock and roll, so we can,
All right.
yeah, 15 seconds and counting.
And the race has begun. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final round of our Final Fantasy VII PC Any% tournament. We have 8 runners here today who placed in the top 4 of either of the previous 2 rounds. We seem to have stream issues on Phrase, but everyone else seems fine, just delayed.
I actually had to refresh my stream because things were a little delayed. See if it fixed it. Well, I'm looking at outer space. Are you guys seeing something that's a little later on, or?
I'm seeing outer space as well.
Okay.
I'm seeing an ad.
Yeah, I saw one for nacho fries, so.
That sounds good right now. Okay, yeah, now I'm seeing some stars.
I'm seeing 7 sets of stars and 1 spinning circle.
Same.
I see 2 Aeriths.
Now I see 2 Aeriths
3.
as well. Now 3, yeah.
Alright, we must all be synced up now, then.
Yeah, close enough. Eight streams might be a bit much for TPS. Yeah, we're lagging a bit, so I don't know if that's I don't know if that's on TPS's side or whether the individual streams are choppy right now.
Yeah, it's looking pretty choppy on.
I think that's probably on TPS's side. Hopefully it can clean up here. I had to
I wonder
change
if they
my...
could like drop down the video quality, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I did. It did help a little bit.
What did you got drop yours down to? 720?
I think I did 360.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
won't really be able to see a difference between 360 or 720 on this when the speeds are this small, so probably.
I gotcha.
Anyway, on the runners that we do have shown right now, we have a couple of fights. Everyone's going to be starting out their initial menu to set their game speeds to be fast, and some other miscellaneous settings, picking up some, either picking up or not picking up some potions from the guard, and defeating the first set of enemies. Everyone's initial ATB when you start a fight is random, and so how many turns they get before you get your first turn is random, and you want to be able to get your turn before anyone else, but that's not always going to happen. However, some runners, notably Zergu, I'm not sure if anyone else is doing this though, are currently using what's called a system clock manipulation to manipulate battle randomness to be at least somewhat favorable. So, for example, they would guarantee getting a first attack on this first battle, followed eventually by getting a good fight on the first boss. Coming up, everybody is at least attempting, or most people are at least attempting to do naming skip. It might be a bit choppy and you might not be able to see what's going on, but there is a small gap between the cutscene trigger that triggers the cutscene in which you name Cloud and Barrett, and the loading zone to the next area, and these runners are trying to sneak their way through that gap. A few of them
Right.
got it, or I
Looks
think
like
they're
Zergu got it.
yeah, Zergu got it. Chef Bomb, for example, didn't. Solos didn't get it. Boost and Ziden both didn't get it either. I don't know if Fekwe went for it. Looks like looks like Zergu rather is the only person who got it, other than maybe RJ, who we can't see right now.
RJ didn't get it.
Okay. RJ's screen is showing Chef Bomb's screen right now, so
Oh. But never mind.
Yeah, let me see if I can get TPS to switch RJ stream.
Oh, I see RJ now.
Fixed.
yeah, RJ's up. Based on his time, I assume that RJ didn't go for or didn't get naming skip. It's a bit of it's a bit of a tricky trick.
It is pretty hard. Yeah, looks like he didn't get it because he doesn't have X Soldi.
Yeah, Cloud's name by default is ex-soldier because that's what shows up at the very beginning before you name him anything. It just gets overwritten in the naming screen. However, that name is actually 10 characters long, but the game only expects 9 characters to be shown normally. So when his name is printed in field area text box, for example, that will only show the first 9 characters of his name, whereas in battle and in the pause menu or the main menu, that'll show his full name. Some of the quirks with his name being long like that, though, if you have the ability to, you want to name characters as short of a name as possible, because each character of text printed to the screen takes some time. Also, another thing about naming skip is that Barrett's level is either 1 or 2 initially Barrett is either level 1 or level 2. But after naming him, or like during that cutscene, he's leveled up all the way to like 6 or so. As a result, he does significantly more damage, up from about 25 damage, which Zergu is doing now, to about 35 damage when Barrett's fully leveled up. That means that Zergu's Guard Scorpion, Barrett's going to be doing a lot less damage, only about 25, than everybody else, who's going to be doing somewhere like 35 or so damage with Barrett. However, Zergu is also running on a system time manipulation, so he has planned out this Guard Scorpion fight and is executing it currently as he has planned it. That involved, for example, also being able to get a first turn bolt off guaranteed, where you're able to have Cloud use Bolt once before Guard Scorpion's first attack. Guard Scorpion is a very scripted fight. He'll always do a search scope, and then attack whoever he scoped, then do a search scope, then attack whoever he scoped, then enter tail phase, and repeat until he dies. The goal is to defeat Guard Scorpion usually immediately after the first tail phase, just because that's how quickly you can usually deal the correct amount of damage. If you're lucky, you can, if you're extremely lucky, you can kill before first tail phase, but you also want to exit this fight with a limit on Cloud because of the next fight we're going to be doing. Guard Scorpion is a fairly tricky fight to completely optimize, but not that tricky to actually complete.
Zergu's Cloud's doing some pretty high bolt damage as well, unless my screen's really hard to see. It looks like 96s.
Yeah,
pretty
Zergu must have also, as part of his manipulation, gotten a high level up on the very first fight of the game. That also affects your the amount of damage that Cloud does with Bolt is mainly affected by his magic stat, and that can level up. And like the amount that levels up by is variable from the first fight. There's 4 different possible levels it can be, and they're generally split up into low values and high values. If you get a low level up, then you're going to be doing somewhere between 84 and 90 damage, and if you get a high level up, you're going to be doing 90 to 96 damage. In general, it's about 50-50 whether you get a low level up or a high level up, but you can get the lowest level up with a 1 in 8 chance and the highest level up with a 1 in 8 chance as well. Zergu is going to be starting to do a part of step manipulation right here. So throughout all this run, it hasn't been too relevant yet, but the runners have been performing walking steps in certain situations to avoid or manipulate what encounters they're going to get. Zergu is going to continue this here by forcing a fight at a certain position and walking out of this room and continuing to do a set of walking manipulation and just movement manipulation in general. Walking is useful to lower your danger value such that you can avoid avoid random encounter checks. I say scripted encounters. I said scripted there because this game is so bad at generating encounters randomly that we know where all the encounters are going to be, just because the game does not do a good job at actually making them random. As a result, we can walk in order to lower our danger values such that we fail to trigger certain battles. But what Zergu there is doing, and what all the other runners are now doing, is performing a very specific set of step manipulations to exit the reactor on a known step, which is going to be relevant when we come up to the next boss.
I noticed we got a dead Barret for Zidane.
It's not too bad, but having a dead Cloud would not be great.
Oh yeah. Looks like just about everybody has exited Reactor 1.
So Zergu is now entering the train that the party is going to be taking back to the Sector 7 town. In it, he will be performing a small skip called Jesse Skip, or at least attempting to go for it. I'll explain that when it comes up in just a second, but all the runners are going to be most likely at least going for it. It's a small cutscene skip that saves, I think, like 10 or so seconds. I actually don't remember how much time it saves, but it probably saves time, especially on PC where loading times are pretty short.
Yeah, it helps to get yourself set up rather quick too, because obviously, you know, the longer it takes for you to set up to get into position to get the skip to happen, the less time you're going to save.
So Zerger's in the room that you do the skip in now. What you do is you have to run down to the bottom of this room, talk to Jesse, and at the same time enter a trigger in which a guard pushes you away from the back of the door. And you got it. Afterwards, run out to the top of the field and close Jesse's final text box at the same time. This is a little bit tricky, but not too difficult to do, and that results in the cutscene being skipped.
It looks like Chef and Phrase are like completely synced.
Yeah, that's pretty uncanny. Or maybe that's not the right word.
It's like everybody's gotten it so far.
I'm not sure if Feckway's cropping is off, or if his stream just has an odd layout right now, but it doesn't look like his screen is currently all visible.
Yeah, the right side's a little cut off, it seems.
Oh, Solo missed it.
Ah. So then Jesse shows you this map of the reactor, or of Midgar rather, and just showing you like what you just did, what your next mission will be. Oh, there we go.
It looks to me Chef Bomb and Phrase are synced again.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like Zidane missed it too. But most people got it.
Yeah, that's pretty tricky. I mean, even the best can still mess that up, but it's all about lining up like a visual cue to the bottom of the screen there, and yeah, if you move a little too far, you miss it.
Yeah.
You can sort of make the argument that at least for some people it's not really worth going for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if either of these runners, either of the runners that didn't get it just didn't go for it.
True, true.
Yeah, it only saves like 10, 15 seconds, I think.
Oh yeah, little thing is that when these runners are entering the Sector 7 town, there's a small cutscene that plays, and then a bunch of people crowd around and run into the Sector 7 bar. However, if you exit and re-enter that field immediately, you can pretty much despawn all the people and just be able to quickly enter the bar. Interestingly, on the PlayStation version, this is actually slightly slower now, we've determined, I believe, than just letting the people disperse and then entering the bar as quickly as possible. But it saves time on PC because field transitions are so fast. There's just no loading time. There's pretty much just no loading time, and there's like the fade out time is pretty much artificially added into this game, as far as I can tell. It's sort of broken and doesn't always happen, and you can interrupt it by opening the menu, which actually lets you go past loading zones in the PC version. Unfortunately, that's like never useful.
I just like to personally point out that no one has become the elevator pinball. I might be the only person who has ever become the elevator in a run.
You aren't the elevator or the elevator pinball machine. You are the pinball.
Yo, Cornfed, what's up, man? Yeah, nothing really to comment on here. It's just a mash fest through this flashback. Momentarily, we will be coming up on, I guess, the second. I mean, counting naming skip, the second kind of significant skip in this run.
That skip, of course, being Materia Tutorial skip, which Zergu is currently.
Yeah,
attempting.
that's exactly what I meant. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength.
And Zergu
Most
gets it,
important
skipping the
skip.
2-minute-long Materia Tutorial. We're currently discussing what we should include in no major skips or not, and I have a strong case that we should definitely not allow that skip in no major skips. That is a very major thing that you have to go through to watch the Materia tutorial, and obviously Zergu is currently in blatant violation of the no major skips philosophy by attempting it. But no, and seriously, Zergu is about to just purchase some grenades and is about to perform guard skip, which lets us skip directly from 7th Heaven and the Sector 7 town to Wall Market. This skips Sector 5 and everything to do with Aerith and escaping the church.
You did that pretty fast.
The other runners, the rest of the runners are in the shop and selling their items to purchase 21 grenades, and then going to and performing guard skip. It's a fairly tricky skip. It's precise and tricky, but it's a consistent and not too difficult to perform setup. It's just very specific and somewhat finicky.
Yeah, RJ had to
Having some
retry,
trouble with it looks like.
and Chef has some trouble as well. And he's through.
So in Wall Market, all the runners will now be attempting to be chosen by Don Corneo. I say attempting; they're almost certainly going to succeed, assuming they don't mess something up. They're going to be collecting the correct items to be chosen by Don Corneo, and that will save some time and some grenades, as they will not have to fight their way out of the basement. This is faster and just better for the run overall than. It's faster and better for the run overall to be chosen, even though you have to go out of your way to collect more items, and it's potentially a little bit risky with you not being able to collect some of them, such as with squats, where you have to win the squats game. It's not exactly difficult to win that, but it's a little bit risky.
You just gotta hope for the other guy to suck.
Yeah. Let's hope nobody soft locks on a certain skip today.
Oh, Zergu got food skip.
Oh
Zergu's currently doing
no.
Oh, no.
No, I think he knows what to do here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so food skip is a skip that can be performed in the restaurant by doing a paralysis dodge off between the trigger to start eating and one of the NPCs you can talk to. And it can be used to save a small amount of time. I actually think he did that intentionally. But nobody ever goes for it because it's both precise and difficult to get. And it's very easy to soft lock. And it barely saves any time.
Yeah, that's...
I was gonna say I have accidentally gotten food skip more times than I care to commit to.
Yeah, food skip is always an accident that you get, and one that you need to intentionally avoid messing around with. Otherwise, you're most likely going to soft lock if you don't know what you're doing. But it seems like Zergu knows what he's doing because he is fairly experienced with this category and this run.
Or you'll waste your money.
Wait, did he?
He's now going into bar skip.
Oh yeah, okay, that works. I thought he didn't do everything that he needed to before coming here, but what he's doing is fine. He's just going to do bar skip earlier. Bar skip before going to talk to the materia shop owner and give him his thingy, the thing that you get from the inn.
His protein drink.
Yeah, he's doing that now. So yeah, the things that you need to collect are are a prescription coupon or just something that you can use to get from the medicine shop, from the restaurant by saying that the food was all right, which you can use to get a digestive from the medicine shop, which you can use to give to this person that Phrase is currently talking to that's in the bathroom, in which he's performing bar skip right now. That will get you this sexy cologne. You need to perform a side quest with the dress shop owner and the dress shop in order to make him give you the best dress. Specifically by telling him that you want a dress with both of the bottom options, saying that it shines and or like I actually forget what the options are now, but they're both of the bottom options.
Soft and shimmer, right?
Yeah. You need to get a wig by winning a game of squats, and you need one more thing. The diamond tiara from the materia shop guy, who you get by getting a thing from the inn rather. And speaking of which, because there are two things that have to be performed in the bar, you're able to sort of use both. You're able to sort of advance both of those conversations simultaneously, and just interact with both people, and then skip the final part of one of their cutscenes, using bar skip. For whatever reason, talking to the person in the toilet, for whatever reason, when you talk to them, you're still able to retain movement. The game fails to stop yourself from moving. However, like the game fails to lock your movement. However, the game will still re-enable movement when you close out that text box. So you can then disable your movement by talking to something else, and then have it re-enabled while you're still talking to that thing that expects you to have disabled movement. And that's the basis of a paralysis dodge. You disable your movement in two ways at the same time. One of those ways re-enables your movement, and then you're able to have movement while using the other, usually a conversation. Some of our runners are now doing squats. You usually get either 20 or 21 squats, and the other guy almost always gets 19 or fewer, so it's not difficult to win, except for the very rare case in which he gets 20, which makes it a little bit tight. You do need to win and not just tie. So it's depending on his RNG, and if you mess up a little bit, it might be a little bit tight and you might lose, but it's not very difficult. And it's generally extremely safe.
Looks like Zayden decided not to go for bar skip.
Totally reasonable. It can. Bar skip can soft lock pretty easily if you mess up at a step.
I would know.
Some of our runners, Zergu, Phrase, and RJ, are currently entering Don Corneo's mansion. Zergu is the farthest ahead and is currently talking to Tifa, who was in the dungeon down here as a result of events that we did not see.
It almost looks like RJ and Phrase are both synced a little bit, but then a little bit of goofy movement on RJ, and they're both entering the dungeon.
Anyway, after a short conversation where Don Corneo picks Cloud, or at least hopefully picks Cloud, I'm assuming neither of these runners messed up something that would prevent him from doing so. And then, yeah, both the runners, everybody has Cloud picked, and then you have a short conversation with Don Corneo, and then you get sent down to the sewers, in which where we will be fighting our second boss, which is the third boss of the game, Apps. Now, if I tried to explain, but may not have explained completely, that we were performing step manipulation at the beginning of the game and exiting the reactor at a specific point in what's called the encounter table. And this is because the encounter table, which is what determines when you get encounters, also determines when those encounters are preemptive fights. And it just so happens that if we get to a part of the encounter table that the game says will result in a preemptive fight, and then start the apps fight, the apps fight will think that it should be a preemptive fight, and so it tries to be preemptive. And in this case, apps is actually allowed to be a preemptive fight, so you'll see what happens there.
Phrase and RJ are neck and neck again. I can just see every once in a while it'll sync up and then it'll kind of lag a little bit, but they're pretty close.
It is worth noting that they're not really neck and neck. RJ's stream is significantly further behind Phrase's stream. If you look at their live split timers, well, assuming the live split timers are accurate, that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. At least on my end, I can see that they're both kind of similar.
Yeah, in fact, Zergu appears to be significantly further ahead than it looks because his timer is significantly further behind than everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically getting through Don Corneo's talk at before 32 minutes.
That's crazy. Well, he's the only one who got the naming skip, correct?
He is the only one that did naming skip and is also doing a system clock manipulation.
True.
Yeah,
However, his timer may not be entirely accurate. Or actually, most likely his timer is accurate to his own run, but he might have started a slightly different time from everyone else. There's an issue with racetime.gg and using system clock manipulations. Presumably that website uses your system clock for some part of its functionality, and as a result, it doesn't work with Zergu. So he's just not using it. As a result, he might not be synced up with everyone else, but he should still have an accurate timer for his own run. It's a bit frustrating and unfortunate that one of the manipulations we're using breaks a lot of tools that people have. We're working on ways to fix that, I believe. So yeah, Zergu is doing some walking steps, just some precise movement here in order to talk to Aerith and you have to talk to both Aerith and Tifa, then the apps fight will start. He talks to Tifa and then talks to Aerith, and he does so in a way that will result in this fight being a preemptive.
Like you got it.
The whole reason we get that preemptive, or at least the main reason we get that preemptive fight, is because it allows us to do a back attack Braver. Apps is, for some reason, programmed to take 400% damage to back attacks, and Braver does a lot of damage and will attack based on, and will do additional damage based on back attack because it's a physical attack. And actually, I should say that despite apps turning around when we throw grenades at it, it still receives back attack damage until it still will receive back attack damage from the first physical attack it receives before it does its own turn. So the Braver does still count for back attack damage. We throw grenades first, just so we get just so that when we use our we throw grenades first so that we can use limit priority to get the Braver in as an additional attack instead of just having it deal normal damage, I believe, or instead of The idea is that we can get 3 grenades plus a braver in on the first turn when we only have 3 turns to spare. That I didn't really know how to explain that well, but it's just how limit priority works.
Seems like a few people missed the preemptive, which it's pretty hard to get, so.
Yeah, it is somewhat tricky. You do have to be on steps for the first bit of the run. It's definitely a prerequisite to learn how to do any step manipulation in this game, though. Being able to do something like that, it's not that difficult, but it is fairly tricky and can be messed up fairly easily.
Well, it's pretty hard if you like mess up steps, is what I meant.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm saying. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's like it's not really that tricky to do, but it's easy to mess up.
Yeah.
So yeah, these runners are now going through Train Graveyard. I feel like I should have explained this earlier, but Train Graveyard, these runners are still on steps, but there really isn't much more manipulation throughout the run, just because it just so happens to not be beneficial to take steps anywhere from here to the end of the run. However, these runners do still want to have good movement, and Train Graveyard is one of the trickiest places in the game to have good movement through. There's a lot of weird geometry, tight turns that you have to take, and somewhat unintuitive pathing you have to do. However, Phrase is currently executing something called double training, where he is taking the train back to the right after taking it to the left to push out another train. The path from the train in the right position to the next place he has to go is shorter than the path in the train being in the left position. However, you have to take the time to move the train all the way back to the right. So this saves walking distance at the expense of time. And if you're either behind on steps or you want to make a particularly tight step route, this may be necessary or just helpful.
Yeah, because that saves about 10 step IDs or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
In case you're behind, it's a good kind of backup.
Yeah, it's a good backup or catch-up tool.
And these stairs heading up to the pillar are particularly particular in terms of movement, because you can easily lose steps by improper movement.
Yeah, taking the corners tight is important if you want to have the best movement and make the tightest step routes. Which PC doesn't have a tight step route at all, but it's just worth noting that you can lose a lot of distance on those climbs there. Reno's is a pretty interesting fight. On its first turn, Reno will always pyramid somebody in the party. Hopefully you can throw a grenade before that happens. In some categories where you have limit breaks here, where Zergu currently doesn't have a limit break, but if you do, then you could also follow that up with a buffered limit break to... Oh, actually Zergu's getting a lot of turns in. I don't know if that's part of his manipulation, but Zergu got two first turn grenades in, which is very lucky. I believe 2 first turn grenades will pretty much always skip one of Reno's turns, because you only have 2 people that you can attack with because one of them's stuck in the pyramid. You could attack that pyramid to remove it, but it's just not worth doing that. And I believe as a result of getting those 2 first-turn grenades, Zergu was able to skip one of Reno's turns.
You kind of got my favorite character pyramided Tifa. If Cloud were to get pyramided, he can't take any damage required to get a limit. I don't know how important limits are in this run. I can't really remember. You're gonna have to pardon me for that.
Not really that important.
But also one thing to note too is after this segment, Cloud gets a free heal, while the other characters don't.
I'd say limits aren't too important in this run, but they can be useful if you're low on grenades.
Limits are more useful for their ability to fit in more turns, fit in more attacks per turn, I guess, as opposed to being necessary for damage.
Yeah, that too.
As you've been able to see throughout the run, the main source of damage throughout the early game and throughout the entirety of a PC any percent run is grenades. They're inexpensive and have a fast throwing animation and do a lot of damage and also a consistent amount of damage for this part of the game. Always very consistently around 140 damage, or maybe depending on the enemy's defensive stats, either a little bit higher or a little bit lower, but they're not going to, for example, deal sudden critical hits and deal way too much damage for certain strategies that we use that rely on specific damage amounts on, for example, Motor Ball.
Now, I don't know if this is true. I believe I heard this not long ago, but Tifa has the shortest throwing animation when
I'm
it
not
comes
sure.
to grenades.
Yeah, I'm not sure who does have the shortest throwing animation. I believe Tifa does, though, or at least of these 3 characters, Tifa does.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cloud's is pretty long, Tifa's is pretty short, and Barrett's is somewhere in the middle, but I'm not an expert on that at all. I know that Aerith's throwing animation is pretty long, I think.
Yeah, she does that underhand toss.
Yeah.
Very
There's
long.
some interesting routing that you can do based on the length of, like, there's some interesting routing that's been done based on cutscene length versus the length of throwing the length of the grenade throw animation between Aerith and Red 13 for who to take the Genova birth fight, but that's not really going to be done in this run anyway.
I just remember you used to bring both, and this is, way back, but like to fight Materia Keeper, who we do not fight in this category anymore. We just skip right past him. I believe it was Red 13 and Aerith both in your party to fight MK. It's been a million years since I've done this run, and it's changed significantly since, so.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because Aerith had to do like 13 damage on her attack, while Red, I think, cast Bio or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I never ran it back then myself, so I'm not completely sure, but I do remember Eris being a strat that you needed her to have a specific attack value.
Yeah, that was back in the days of Yuffie warping, which again is a long forgotten strat.
A long forgotten strat for PC any percent at least. We
Right.
have categories such as all bosses that still use that.
Oh, does it?
PC all bosses with warps uses Yuffie warping to return to the debug menu
Oh, nice.
after. Oh yeah, spoilers, there's a debug menu in this game. I'm not going to mention that for now. I'm not going to mention that again for now. Yeah, interesting. Zergu's, I think, doing a different step route than I originally expected. Oh yeah, I actually, yeah, I think I know what Zergu was doing there with his walking steps. So part of the step route that people are doing has to deal with whether they're taking like what method they're using to climb the Shinra Tower. There are two methods pretty much. You can either climb these stairs or you can take the elevator. The elevator is the stairs are consistent and easy to execute. You just climb up some stairs. Despite how much they might kill Cloud's legs, he doesn't seem to complain about it. But the elevator is very random. There are fights that you have to do to pass through the elevator all the way to the top, and that can cost a random amount of time and a random amount of ammo. So that's difficult to get through. In addition, the room immediately before the elevators has a special property where if you fought the first battle and then immediately continue through the room, you will, if you get into a fight between the beginning of the room and the elevators, you will not be able to escape that fight. It's sort of a thing called the inescapable battles glitch that happens in a couple of places in the game, where you just can't escape fights that you would normally be able to escape from because there was a scripted fight that you couldn't escape, and the developers forgot to put a trigger saying that you could actually escape from fights again afterwards.
Yeah, that happens right after Schizo. I can't remember where else it happens too.
After Schizo, after the Mighty Grunts fight, and after Turks in Midgar, and after the first fight when entering the Shinra Tower.
I'm not sure it is a glitch in Shinra HQ because it persists into the next screen if you go upstairs.
Actually, yeah, that might be. I should look into that then, but it's still a thing that happens regardless of whether it's a glitch or not.
Yeah.
I just noticed Solo moved to the left going up that little pink girder thing in the collapsed highway section. I've never seen anyone do that before. It's always just like to the left. Unless I'm seeing things.
But yeah, runners such as Zergu and Phrase, I believe, did a bunch of walking directly before entering. Like they got a battle on the Broken Road screen, and then did some walking. That was to skip that was so that they would be able to get their encounter table to a place where they're not going to get an encounter when they're going through that first room to get to the elevator. That's sort of a tricky part in the run. However, some of the other runners, depending on if they're doing the elevator, may actually do something to avoid having to do that, where if you save and reset the game, your current danger value actually gets reset back to 0, despite the fact that your position in the encounter table stays the same. That save to your where you are in the encounter table actually saves to your save file, but your danger value is reset to 0. So you can skip under the encounter that you were going to get by saving and resetting directly before the Shinra Tower. And that is sort of a side effect, which is a result of a strategy that some of the runners may or may not be doing called elevator manipulation. I talked about how the elevator is random and the amount of battles you get is random, because which battles you get are entirely dependent on which floors you end up jumping to. That floor decision is random, or at least it's determined by the game's random number generators. However, we can manipulate those, and it's extremely tricky to do so, but you are able to manipulate the entire elevator so that you can get the minimum number of fights, which is just 1. I'll explain more about elevator mechanics in a bit, but the runners are now going back to Wall Market, or Zergu is at least. Zergu and RJ are right now going back to Wall Market, rather. After purchasing more grenades like Busatai currently is. We purchased all the grenades we're going to need for the rest of the run here. It turns out that we have a lot of money we actually are not really tight on money at all, unlike a previous route that was very tight on money at this point. And I mentioned that limit breaks would be useful for limit breaks weren't too useful in this run. At least not really like that. They're not really necessary because we have so many grenades that we can just throw at enemies. But like a previous route that we had significantly less money here, and so yeah, we used to have a lot less money here, so we wouldn't be able to buy as many grenades. So we had to supplement the grenade damage we were missing with limit breaks. Limit breaks are always slower to use than a grenade, at least on their own. Like a grenade's throw animation is so fast that it's faster than just the build-up animation to start doing a limit break, or about the same speed at least. But
And sometimes they can even do similar damage, I've noticed too.
yeah, limit breaks and grenades do about the same amount of damage at this point in the game, except for Tifa's limit break because it sucks.
Yeah, not even if you get the yeah.
So yeah, Zergu is currently going through the climb to the Shinra Tower. Fortunately, didn't forget the all-important batteries, which are required to power a couple of devices on the way up, including this propeller, which spins for a bit and then lands in a very convenient position. How convenient that either the propeller had just enough, broke in exactly that position, or the battery had just enough juice to accelerate it to exactly that position.
When you get another battery, I always forget, what's that other battery for? Is it for nothing? It's gotta be for something.
You can use it to get to a third item, I believe, but you can use it to get to an item, I believe. I think it's an ether or something.
Oh, I think I see what it is.
Like a
Yeah, there's a terminal in the upper screen you can use there.
Phoenix down or something, I don't remember.
It's not a unique item, so it's not like you're missing out on anything.
Like, you have that dang thing, like, in your inventory during, say for Sephiroth fight, like, as you're scrolling down, so...
Yeah, for some reason
battery.
for some reason batteries are normal items, not key items.
Probably it was easier to have multiple normal items than multiple key items.
I mean, then it's interesting that the developers had to have you leave the batteries in at each of the places where you use them. You could just have a single battery that you use to move the items into to move each of the props into position, and just reuse the same battery.
It's true.
Oh, interesting. Zerga did walking before, but he's still doing elevator manip. So this hard reset right here is used to reset our current random state, the state of the random number generator, to a known position. So we know exactly where where RNG is right now, and it's not going to change between when we get between here and the elevator.
Yeah, this is where it loses me. Like, the run has been pretty straightforward, considering it's pretty much the same as like any other route. But yeah, this manipulation, I might be sounding like an old boomer here, but I have no clue how any of these guys are doing this, so I just sit back and smile.
So this manipulation is very difficult to execute because the floor that you end up going to when you press the button changes on every frame. So we're going to start by holding menu and starting an external metronome program at the same time we close the menu there. Our goal is to press the button at a very specific time. We can't time it down to the frame with a metronome consistently. However, we have a range of frames that will then branch off and do different things out afterwards from. Alright, Zergu got to floor 17. We know which frame we got because each frame you can press the button gets you to a different floor. So we use the fact that we got to floor 17 to know which route we're on. And we're going to continue manipulating based on that to get no encounters for the rest of the elevator. If you land on floors 29, 38, 47, or 56, then an employee will exit the elevator and you will not get a fight. That's what we're going to use to get no more fights all the way up, hopefully.
Assuming they don't mess up the manip, yeah.
So Zergu walks upwards towards the button, menus, and then uses both the position he is in relation to the button, and also just menu buffers some additional frames in order to advance a little bit of time, so that we're at the right point in time where pressing the button will result in a favorable floor jump, so that we get to the next point where there is where there's going to be an employee. All right, Zergu got 29, then 38, then 47. He's most likely got the whole thing.
I will say that if you're not doing this manip, which is pretty much anywhere else other than PC at the moment, that 56 is kind of a troll. At least in my experience, floor 56 is kind of a troll because you're literally 3 floors away jump to getting to the top.
Definitely better than an encounter, though.
That's true. I don't want to be mad about getting a manager, but also it's like, you have 3 floors. You couldn't just jump 3?
So yeah, Phrase is also going for elevator manip, and Chef is as well. Phrase gets 29, and Chef also gets 29.
RJ,
And it looks like RJ got it too, because he's on the grunt fight now too.
Oh, nice. I missed him.
I noticed Zergu's grunts, they were getting a lot of attacks early on, so that must not be part of the manipulation
No, you
ATB.
You can't bring manipulation through here, both because you did a hard reset, so your system RNG seed changed, but you couldn't really manipulate this part anyway because it's pretty much impossible to manipulate a fight and to bring manipulation through a fight if it's on ATB wait.
I see.
And we want to be on ATB wait to prevent the enemies from getting as many attacks as possible. However, that means that we're in control of how quickly ATB progresses, and battle RNG in this game is very volatile and progresses on every frame. So you pretty much have to be frame perfect in a fight, or at least have the fight progress at a very consistent rate in order to be able to both manipulate that fight and manipulate future fights. And this kind of battle manipulation is only even theoretically possible on the PC version, because the PSX version will actually seed the game's battle RNG based on the current frame counter as soon as you start a battle. And that's so precise that there's basically no getting around that. There's basically, we are doing some limited manipulation based on events that have to do with the frame counter, specifically chocobo manipulation. Like manipulating the chocobo races, which is based on the same frame counter where it seeds RNG in the same way, but that's a lot easier and a lot more doable for various reasons. Anyway, I totally forgot to mention that Zergu just went through a fairly nerve-wracking part of the game where you have to get past several guards and not get seen, and if you get seen, there's a fight that you have to win, and that's not fun. Next, Zergu is doing the mayor's password section, where the Mayor Domino wants you to, in order to give you a key, you need to guess a password, and the only way to do so is to look through all the books and decipher a code, except if you know that that's not the only way to do so, you can either look at one specific book, which has a different message for each of the different... There's one book that has a different message for each of the different possible passwords, or you can just use the fact that the password is set based on your current in-game time when you enter, and just know what your password is going to be based off of that by opening the menu, looking at your in-game time, and figuring out the password based on that.
Zidane is the one brave soul to take the stairs, I've noticed. Everyone else has done elevator.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Yeah, the stairs, as you can see, are quite extensive, and the elevator can definitely be a lot faster than the stairs, but if you don't have any kind of manipulation, it's usually about the same speed or slightly slower, while also expending more steps, and which means you're going to get more encounters throughout your run, and also just being a lot more random and expending more ammo. So if you don't have, if you don't have any manipulation, then elevator is usually not worth it. Just because elevator is usually not worth it on its own, except that for various reasons it actually is worth doing in newer routes. For example, of the PSX run.
Yeah, I was gonna say elevator can really drain your grenades if you get it really bad and you don't do the manip.
Yeah, where elevator manip and just using the elevator in general is like pretty new tech that we're both experimenting with and using.
So Busatai was using the kind of oldish strat of figuring the mayor's password by checking the bookshelf and figuring it out, correlating to the hint.
Each of the 4 different possible passwords, 2 of them which, there are 6 possible passwords that are listed, but 2 of them will never be chosen, so there are only 4 possible passwords. Each of them has a different message that will be in that book if that password is chosen. So we can just look at that book, know which message correlates to which password, and know which password we get by seeing which message we got. Hey, we haven't even really talked about the model room that Chef and a lot of other people are going through right now. This is supposed to be a puzzle this is pretty much supposed to be a puzzle where you, put different you go through the room, you grab different sections of the mural in the center or of the model in the center, and you put them back into place. However, they're supposed to open in a specific order, or an order based on how you put pieces back in the model. However, it turns out that you can just open the first chest that's open by default, and then place the first piece in the very bottom right in the 5 o'clock position, and that will open all of the other chests. However, you can still only pick up 1 piece at a time. As a result, most runners just do the first piece in that specific spot, and then they just do the pieces in whatever order they decide.
I've done that once, and I think it's a glitch, but I'm not sure.
It probably is a glitch, but it's still a thing you can use, and it's most likely not something that it's not any kind of major thing.
Yeah.
Probably just a relatively small scripting error.
This floor can be kind of rough in terms of movement, considering, you can exit a door and accidentally go back in it, and just have, unoptimal movement, so keep it tight.
Zerger is now on floor 67, and after a short cutscene where Cloud sees the headless body of Genova, he will be fighting the next boss, which is Sample. We probably haven't been on HB Wait this whole time, but we've been fighting our bosses on HB Wait. We've been fighting scripted encounters, or just encounters that we have to kill on HB Wait, because we have much better control over the ATB when we have it on Wait, which allows us to manipulate it such that we can get ATB when the enemies can't, and we can prevent the enemies from getting ATB when we can't.
Also known as ATB weight tricking.
Yes. This is a pretty fundamental technique, especially in longer categories that fight much tougher enemies than this run will ever fight. However, it's especially useful on sample because you're fighting 4 enemies and you're also trying not to die from poison that you actually want to get poisoned. So like you actually want to get poisoned in this fight because that means that the main boss will no longer try to poison everybody, which is a slow attack. Um, it's also worth noting that if we go back to the mayor's password for a second, you don't actually really need to predict what the mayor's password is going to be. You can just keep guessing each of the 4 options and just hopefully get lucky. That's what Zidane did.
Ooh,
You don't
Zergu and
care-
RJ are in sync, but I noticed that Zergu did an extra menu, so now they're a little more apart.
I think you said that RJ's stream was a little delayed, so they're probably not as in sync as they look, but
Right.
They're in sync on stream, but
Yeah.
Zergu is like 50 seconds ahead with his timer.
And you can also turn your ATB to active during those, like the model floor, for example. You can get away theoretically quicker than if you were to get on wait. I mean, you can also leave it on wait and just kind of roll the dice and hope you get away quickly. And
Yeah, while ATB is pause, you don't expend runaway checks. So you can't run away, or at least you can't continue to try to run away while the ATB is frozen, which happens during attacks on ATB wait. However, during ATB active, you always expend runaway checks. Every so often the game, like if you're holding L1 and R1, every so often the game will roll the die and see if you run away, and every time it does so there's a 1 in 4 chance you run away. And so you want as many of those checks as you can before the next turn happens. Zergu's on the sample fight, and we're hoping that we can get through this fight, first of all, by having sample start by using Shady Breath and getting poison on the whole party.
RJ's just first turn, so everybody's poisoned. Good.
So does Zergu.
So yeah, now it's just grenades. I'll occasionally throw a fire in from red here and there just because it saves a grenade for later if you're trying to do that. But yeah, it's just on sample. And it's also possible to, if Cloud has a limit, to use a limit on sample, and you could potentially, depending on how high your rolls have been, to skip using that grenade that you queued in before the Braver, because that takes priority.
Yeah, now the runners are going to run all the way back downstairs and get to the elevators below them. I think the game sort of wants you to stay on that floor and use the stairs that are on floor 68 to get down, but this is faster, and because you don't have to talk to somebody in order to unlock doors.
Chef threw a grenade at one of the little eyeball guys, I think by accident.
Yeah, the sample fight only ends when you kill the main body, and if you were to kill one of the eyeball guys, the main body will just revive it. Will just revive all of them. So, unfortunately, you have to continuously retarget the main body. So, you can oftentimes accidentally throw grenades at one of the little guys and waste that grenade and time that you spent throwing it.
Yeah, it can be kind of tricky menuing over to sample too.
Chef Bomb didn't get all poisons on the first turn, and so Sample used Shady Breath again, which is a slow attack, and that was able to poison Barrett, so he won't use it anymore.
Talk about slow attack animations. I think we're coming up to, I believe there's an encounter before you enter the bikes section. The pizza shower. I think you probably know what the attack is. The pizza shower animation from the sneaky steps. Wait, what are they? Oh no, Zanene's, right?
So Zanene's do Piazza Shower. Yeah, that's a sort of long animation. Not really as long as one of the attacks that Brain Pods can do though, which is another enemy that you can find in this part of the game.
Yeah, they do like a bubble, like a hairy bubble, or that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a big hairy bubble.
Yeah, those brain pod, the animations is super long. I think they're a little bit longer than the Zanene's.
You can also sort of see on Chef Bomb's screen just there, the warning board that he got had sort of messed up graphics. The PC version has a few issues like that. If you ever seen one of the Quake if you ever seen Quake or one of the Quake attacks, sometimes its textures can just be completely screwed up.
Yeah, it like starts reading textures from the menu or something.
You'd think since it's the PC version that the graphics would just be flawless, right?
Ha ha ha.
This is a perfect version with 0 flaws.
And then isn't in like Barrett's flashback in the Coral Prison, you hear like glass shattering after the cutscene's over? I forget what version that's in.
I don't know. Zergu is currently going through the segment where you go back and forth between the body and several characters. However, there is a small skip in this place where he'll most likely try and go for a paralysis dodge that lets you exit this slightly faster. It should be immediately after when you talk to the body after talking to Barrett.
Oh, he got it.
Yeah, he even went for the full setup with a menu buffer. That probably saved like a couple of seconds for him, but you can go for it YOLO and save even more time. Yeah, these brain pod enemies, luckily there's a preemptive formation. Luckily there's a preemptive you get here, so you don't really experience any of their pain, but some of the step routes I've worked on for 100%, for example, have a couple of those enemies that can be slow.
Looked like RJ got the skip too, by the way.
That's good.
Another one of those things where you get it on accident and you're just completely amazed. You're kind of taken off guard about it.
Now Zergu has... Hopefully Zergu can run away. Yeah, he ran away.
Nice physical attack it looked like, so.
Yeah, that fight is the formation that can be slow because it has two enemies, or two types of enemies with potentially pretty slow attack animations. Now RJ's in a fight with just an Zanene's that he's having a hard time running away from.
Uh-oh, pizza shower.
Oh, that must have been just before floor 70.
Mm-hmm.
I think Phrase went for but didn't get the jail skip there. The little paralysis dodge in the jail, but you can see how little time that saves. There's a little cutscene that the Barrett and Red do there that you can't move during, that you can just move during and talk to Tifa and Aerith and escape during. And escape to that's all the time save that you get from that.
So realistically, we probably got about another 25-ish minutes left in the run.
Yeah, not much more time. But they're not me. But the fact that there's not much more time doesn't mean that there's not much more to talk about.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, we have our next boss is coming up. Okay, I somewhat lied. There's not much to say about these bosses other than that if they want to, they can slow you down by causing status effects on your party and just being a nuisance and having long attack animations, but they're not that big of a threat to the actual run.
They can be pretty mean if they like crit a lot.
Yeah, they can be, but if they kill people, that's not actually like, and they can kill your party members, but it's not too much of a danger if that happens to one or sometimes even two of your party members. Yeah, Zerger's currently on the Gunners fights. There's two of them. First 100 Gunner, which is one of the highest HP enemies that we have to deal with in this part of the run, or just it has actually no, it only has 1600 HP. Now the two of them combined have 2600 HP, which is the same as Motorball, but this guy only has 1600. Most of the grenades that we got were specifically for this fight. It takes like 20 or so grenades to get through. 12 on this first phase and then 8 on the next.
This is usually whether I find out whether or not I had enough grenades or not.
Yeah, you usually want probably like 17 or more exiting this fight. 16 or 15 are probably fine though.
As long as you don't 139 grenade roll the dog, or 138, even worse.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a couple of seconds.
Rage using a limit there, like I was saying earlier, that's one way you can save grenades.
In this case, that was most likely more to save a turn than grenades, but yeah, that's still
true.
useful. Just because, also like, there's some strategies you can do with the second phase where the attacks it does are based on how much HP it has, and so you can use a limit to deal more damage before its next attack. So it gets over a threshold, which means it does attacks with a shorter animation. So even though the limit itself is slower, the shorter animation is worth more than the limit saves more time than the limit costs. Anyway, Zergu is now about to start the Rufus fight. He has a dog thing called Dark Nation. We need to kill it, and a grenade does about 140 damage, or more, usually more, but sometimes a little bit less. And this dog has exactly 140 HP. Except Zergu has a Braver, so he gets to use a Braver and kill this dog every time. In fact, Zergu, never mind, not every time.
Oh no.
Feels bad.
Usually when you do the of course, because
Oh, wow.
oh, actually this is unlucky.
Oh, and he missed him too.
This is very unlucky.
Oh no.
This is actually dangerous.
Oh,
I hope he
back
doesn't
row? Unless he has his magic.
Okay, this is extremely dangerous.
Oh no.
I think Zergu's dead.
Oh no, he is.
Oh,
I
this is
think,
bad.
Maybe.
Does he have healing?
I don't know. Oh, he does. I think he has.
No, he doesn't.
Oh no,
I
he doesn't have
used your
restore.
Grenades.
No, he just has
He
grenades.
did get a Rufus laugh there, so
Nice, and he's like 2 more grenades. Yeah, no, that's it for Zergu.
Oh, dude.
Dang,
That's unfortunate.
that's a rough way to lose the run.
So, Zergu started that fight with a first turn. He was able to use a Braver. So, okay, so normally the fight goes best when you do something called barrier skip, where actually the idea is to do something called barrier skip, where you can use a Braver to kill the dog before it gets its first turn. However, his Braver didn't do nearly enough damage to kill the dog. Or I mean, it did almost 90. It did over 90% of its HP, but we're looking as to whether it does more than 140 or less than 140 damage. And it did like 137, which is extremely low.
Yeah.
So Fraze is also going for the same strategy where he's using a Braver on the dog. He might have a higher attack roll or just a higher attack stat. Yeah, usually you see something more like that where a Braver does a little bit more than 140 damage. But Zergu either had very low attack stats or just a very low roll on that Braver, and so got very unlucky. The dog has pretty high evasion, and his next attack missed. He wanted to use an attack because it barely had any HP, and needed to die. It barely had any HP, so it would be better to use an attack, but the attack can miss, and that happened to Zergu, and the dog attacked, and everything went downhill from there. Unfortunately, Rufus can do that to you if he wants to, but usually the fight's pretty safe.
Yeah, that miss was pretty unlucky.
Both the low roll and the miss had to happen
Yeah.
for that to happen to Zergu, so that's extremely unfortunate. Yo, Zergu, you want to join commentary? You can if you want.
So it's looking like a pretty safe bet that RJ is now leading by default. Unless the stream's lagged or something like that.
I mean, there's still plenty that can go wrong.
That's true.
No worries, Zergu. Have a nice day. Congratulations on the run that you were able to get. Sorry about the unfortunate death. But we'll see how the remaining 7 go.
Yeah, bad luck.
Chef Bum gets a 139 Braver.
Oh no, not again. Don't miss the attack.
Okay, looks like Chef Bum attacked himself.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Dude.
Okay, he had to target the dog when the dog was right on top of him, so he attacked himself because he mistargeted. That's not good. Okay, he's probably fine because he was in the back row this whole time.
Yeah.
He took a safety strat for exactly this scenario where he just put himself in the back row before the fight, which means all the attacks do significantly less damage.
Good call.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's something that Zergu arguably should have done, but it would have been slow, and most likely what he got wouldn't have happened. So he sort of did the right thing, but unfortunately the right thing didn't work in this scenario.
Oh, Fekwe got a Rufus Keck.
Yeah, if you do a low amount of damage, less than 100 damage to Rufus on an attack, then he can laugh, and that's annoying. It wastes time, and arguably you want to take damage in this fight, actually, despite everything that I said and what happened to Zergu. You actually kind of want to take damage, because it means you can have a Braver stored for Motor Ball, which can help you do a different strategy that uses fewer grenades.
Yeah, the 9 grenade strat. Kind of a nice little fight.
Oh yeah, motorbikes. RJ and Fraze are on the motorbike minigame. The red bikes are very manipulatable. You just swing your sword constantly and they stay behind you because they want to stay away from your sword so that they attack from the side and just try and flank you or something. I'm pretty sure I know what all those words mean. The point is, if you swing your sword, they will stay away from you. And that means you can just constantly swing your sword and keep them behind you and keep the car in front of you. And so that means no one ever gets hit. And only 3 bikes can be on the field at once. And so when you have 3 red bikes, you can just keep them behind you and just keep them and let them stay along for the ride. RJ is now on Motorball. This is a scripted and fairly safe fight. However, you have to execute a very specific strategy to do so. Motorball will do We'll start the fight by attacking you in the back, do it, and then we'll do an arm attack, and then do 2 sets of arm attacks. These will always be on the party member with the highest HP. And then he'll do this flamethrower attack. Then he'll run into the party, and I don't remember if he does nothing and then runs into the party, or runs into the party and then does nothing, but he does 2 turns, one of which where he runs into the party and one of which where he does nothing. And then eventually he'll stand up, and on the next turn after he stands up, he will do a... I believe that's the one where he does a 50-50 between Twin Burner and Rolling Fire, but that's the one you're trying to avoid getting, because if you ever get Rolling Fire, you are instantly dead. Like, he does almost 200 damage to everybody, and at that point you're likely to have everybody under 200 HP anyway. But as far as I can tell, RJ is perfectly on pace to get the strategy. If you just keep using Bolt and 2 grenades on every turn until the 5th Bolt, you just do the right amount of damage so that if you do a wave of attacks on this last turn, then Motorball will die. I mean, die arguably isn't the right word because it's a machine, but it will be defeated.
I don't know if you mentioned it. I kind of zoned out a bit, but like, Motorball's first 2 attacks on your party, you could get the good RNG, and he can only attack you once, and sometimes he can attack you twice in a row. So it's always nice and quicker to get the good RNG by getting attacked only once.
Yeah, on both of those arm attacks, he has a 50% chance to attack the same party member a second time in a row. And if you get one of those as a crit, then they can be at pretty dangerously low HP, but that doesn't happen too often.
No, it just happens to me.
Yeah, you need both a crit and a double for it to be dangerous. Actually, Phrase has Tifa at very low, has Barret at very low HP. Oh yeah, Barret's dead for him.
Yeah, unless it misses him, like crit him.
He's probably still fine. He can just use limits, but I think what I just said probably happened to him. Unless he doesn't know to use limits or doesn't have one on Tifa. Or didn't go Cloud first because of that. He's fine though. He's using Twin Burner. Yeah, he's just using Twin Burner, so he's fine.
I don't know how tight the grenade management is in this run, but it's nice to have limits on Barret and Tifa and them being alive. And for the Chocobo encounter.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Because you get 1500 gil at the start, unlike some older routes, grenade management is not that tight, but you do want to not be super wasteful.
Of course.
You want to have 2 grenades at the point that RJ is at right now. RJ is now about to set up performing Calm Skip. It's worth noting that RJ laid down a save immediately, like close to Calm. This was not a safety save. This is part of the run. And now he is going to buy the Choco Lore materia. And also, or he's not going to buy greens. He knows how to not have to need greens. And now he's going to be manipulating which encounter he gets. The world map is very different from field maps, and when you get encounters on the world map is pretty much exclusively based on, or at least is mainly based on the IGT, or like the time value when you exit into the world map. And so he's waiting for a specific time that he knows can work, and he's going to do some specific movement to manipulate that time to result in a Chocobo encounter. I guess manipulate that time is the wrong word, but he's going to use that to manipulate the world map RNG to give him a Chocobo encounter. It's a bit tricky to do here because the Zolom is in the distance and is also calling RNG. So you need to make sure that you do your manipulation in such a manner that that doesn't affect how quickly, or like that doesn't affect what encounter you get. But RJ got his Chocobo and was able to get through the fight quick enough that he didn't need to use a green to prevent the Chocobo from escaping. a chocobo, which RJ now has a chocobo, and he's going to be using this chocobo to perform Calm Skip. So RJ's going to get off the chocobo, get back on it. Where he get off the chocobo was important because he's going to be using that. Cloud currently remembers the triangle that he was standing on when he got off the chocobo, and he does that by remembering a pointer to the position in memory where that triangle is, but he went and unloaded that triangle and loaded something else in that triangle's place, but Cloud is still going to try and use that data as a triangle when he stands up here again, and as a result, we are now reading invalid data as triangle data, and that makes the game think that there's a huge triangle that encompasses literally the entire map that's within that world map region, and so you can just fly. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and so because it's a little bit more complicated than that, you can only progress. You can only do that within a small region of the world map at a time. And also, these triangles will generate encounters, and if you generate an encounter while you're out of bounds, that's very bad. And RJ makes it through the mountain. So there was So RJ basically generated generated two triangles rather that were in both of the world map. I guess I'll call them chunks that he had to pass through to get from one side of the mountain to the other. Oh, actually, RJ needs to keep this in mind. He got encounter 65. But yeah, he was able to use both of the words are hard. He was able to generate two triangles that in each of those world map regions that he was able to use to cross all the way across the mountain. The main reason why you're not able to cross the mountain is that the triangles that make up it don't allow you to walk on them. They're just not of a floor type that you're able to walk on. However, the game first looks at that triangle that Cloud has stored, or the list of triangles that Cloud has stored to be more precise. And it sees those, it sees that they're a type of ground that Cloud can walk on, so the game's like, okay, you're on a triangle, and that triangle is high up in the sky because that's just the data that I happen to see.
Very well put. I couldn't have put it better or at all myself. So
Calm Skip is very complicated, and I understand it pretty well, but there's a couple of things that I might not understand about it, to be honest. But it's complicated, and yeah, it's difficult. It's tricky and it's complicated, and quite a bit can go wrong. You are right, TPS. The most notable thing that can go wrong, the thing that's out of the player's control, is that they can't get an encounter between when while they're over the mountain. If they get an encounter, then that reloads the world map. All that glitch triangle nonsense that I talked about gets erased from memory, and the game doesn't see a valid triangle under the player, and so they just can't move.
wait a second, Kappa. RJ is in Calm Skip. He's in Calm. Did he not just do Calm Skip?
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's right. He did just do Calm Skip, but he went back to
What
Calm.
is he doing?
I think he just missed it.
Wow, running.
Anyway, phrases across.
I think this is his first run. I'll forgive him for that.
Yeah.
It's okay. No one's mad.
Now, if another runner does that, I might be a little bit mad, but only a little.
Yeah, we might have to cancel this in the middle because we're not doing Calm Skip.
We were promised Calm Skip.
Peepo Riot.
I actually don't know if RJ knows, but he actually got a bit unlucky. On the walk past Calm Skip to, we're going to have to use another world map manipulation to get a specific encounter later, and he just so happened to get lucky and got that specific encounter on the way from Calm Skip to the cave that he had to go to. Okay, he does know backup times, cool. It's still unlucky though because there are not many backup times, but the idea is that the game doesn't like it when you get the same encounter twice, and so if you get the same encounter if the game rolls and it decides that you should get the same encounter that you just got, it will re-roll and instead use that encounter. So the backup times are times where both the first roll and the re-roll result in you getting that specific encounter that we want to get, and there are a lot fewer of them just because that's a lot rarer of a condition that we need to match.
Ooh,
Oh,
RJ
Chef
live
got
feed.
it too. Okay, yeah. Chef Bomb also got encounter 65. I don't know if Chef Bomb knows about it. I don't know if Chef Bomb knows about backup times, or if I don't even know if he's IGT manipulating. But even if you're not IGT manipulating, that means it's almost impossible for your first encounter to be the correct one. Anyway, yeah, RJ got a pretty unlucky thing. Runners that are familiar with the Days Before Calm Skip will be aware of the meme that is Life 2, where
Oh yeah.
during this first fight, Sephiroth is going to attack twice and kill the dragon, but the dragon can and oftentimes will attack Cloud, and that will kill Cloud. And Sephiroth can be a bro and revive Cloud, and that wastes time, unfortunately. Being kind to Cloud and reviving him from the dead, unfortunately, is slow and is therefore undesirable.
I like apathetic Sephiroth.
Yeah, luckily it's random whether he does that. It would be particularly bad if it was the case that he always revived Cloud when he was dead. Yeah, I should also mention that Feckway got through the mountain. As I said, the encounter Solos is about to go through is doing Calm Skip now. But like I said before, the ground that you're standing on, that glitched ground that everybody's floating on top of, that ground is of a type that can generate encounters. And if you get an encounter out of bounds, you soft lock. And the distance that you have to travel from across the mountain has about a 10% chance of generating an encounter. That's just the number that we've had floating around. I need to actually determine what the exact chance is, but it's about a 10% chance that you have that an encounter will be generated. Oh, Solos is doing a strat, which reduces that chance a little bit. Oh, he still got an encounter! No!
Oh no.
Okay, Solos, I believe, is the first runner of this tournament to get a Calm Skip soft lock, which is unfortunate. Luckily, it didn't cost him a victory or anything. It's still very unfortunate, but it is very unfortunate what that happened to him, though.
Dang it.
Yeah, as you can see, he's trying to move, but he's not moving. He is stuck in the tomb of the Mountain King.
So does this mean he has to do the chocobo all over again, or did he save after
It depends
that?
on where he saved. Oh yeah, he saved.
yeah.
Oh, he has to load his save he made for Calm. So yeah, that's not
Ooh.
great. Okay, while we were talking about solos, we completely missed what RJ was doing for the past minute or so. Busutai is now doing that though. They're performing a trick called Photo Skip, where they're able to do a paralysis dodge in this part of the map, and therefore walk past Sephiroth's trigger that will cause him to prevent you from going past this area and out into the next place, the Mount Nibel to be specific. However, we can get a paralysis dodge and prevent him from stopping us.
Just got life dude.
Yeah, this skips a scene where this does two things. It saves time in that it skips a scene where Sephiroth takes a photo with us, but the really important thing is that it means that we don't have Sephiroth in our party. Part of the glitches that RJ actually just performed, and that I will talk about with Busutai, involve us dying, and dying in the flashback sequence. And that isn't possible with Sephiroth constantly reviving us and him taking 0 damage. So yeah, RJ, I totally missed it, but RJ performed a sequence where he got an encounter. He loaded up his Mithril Mine save, got an encounter, and won that fight. And because he did so immediately after dying to an encounter while in the flashback, he actually got warped back to where he was in the flashback. Now he's dying to an encounter while still having flashback mode, but this time a world map encounter. And it happens to be that in this configuration, the encounter that you get is actually based on the fight formation that you run into, which is why we have to manipulate that specific fight. It should be a fight with this fight, which has 2 bug enemies and 1 flying dude.
Neurosephiroths.
Yeah, formulas and neuro. Oh, RJ just messed up bad. RJ just
no.
messed up bad.
What happened?
He walked
He went
in.
into
He
the-
walked into Mithril Mines.
Oh no!
That messes up the warp.
That messes up everything. Okay, that's
RJ,
really
no.
bad.
No.
I think he has to go through Calm again. Yeah, this is.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, that's extremely bad. Busatai is now in the lead, I think.
Oh my. Oh wait, what's did Phrase do the setup yet, or?
I'm not sure.
I think he's just doing the first kill, whereas
Okay.
Busatai is already did the first warp. But yeah, entering another field map can't just completely breaks that section of the manipulation of the glitching. But yeah, Phrase is, if you want to see the first warp happen, Phrase just did it. Where he warped back to the flashback, back to where he was in the flashback, but this time with his party. That specifically he had to do that because he had to get to a part of the world map while still having flashback mode on, and you can't exit to the world map if you're in that part of the map. If you're in that part of the game, but your story progression isn't far enough so that you're out of flashback mode, or like. If your story progression isn't far enough, then you can't exit to the world map there. So he had to take a file to advance. He had to make a file and advance its story progression far enough so that it was out of flashback mode, and then warp that file back into the flashback. So he had a file that was in the flashback, but has the game state has the flashback game state, but is past the flashback in the story. So he's allowed to go to the world map while in the flashback game state. And that's what is the thing that really breaks the game. That was hard to explain. But it looks like I think Busakai got the right encounter. And so for this bit, you have to get the right encounter, run away from it, and then find another encounter and then kill it.
This is a good encounter. Just one
Yeah.
enemy.
Zimzalit.
Those parties are pretty low HP.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think that attack's gonna kill him though. Yeah, he's fine. So Busatai is killing this enemy, and once he does so, he will go somewhere special.
Hope everyone
The Abyss.
forgot what he mentioned last time. Because we're in the debug room.
Everyone, welcome to Hades.
And now welcome to the end of the game.
Now, something that can go wrong there. I can't remember if this is the same or not. Don't you have to hold R1 or something until the screen clears, or else
Yeah.
you're not gonna
Yeah.
warp to after the Sephiroth fight? Otherwise, you have to fight Sephiroth.
Yeah, that was the thing that RJ actually found quite a bit after we found out how to use the debug room to warp to the end of the game. It wasn't known that you could actually warp to the end of the game past the final boss sequence until relatively recently.
There's also a really dumb thing where if you hold R1 too early, then you'll get the longer FMV. Because it sets you to disc 3. But it looks like he didn't do that.
And Busatai, GG.
Yeah, congratulations on the win. It was unfortunate what happened to RJ. He was definitely ahead in the lead, and also unfortunate what happened to Zergu. Both of them definitely were in contention to be the winner of this race, but Busatai took it from behind, and congratulations.
Yeah, GG. Looks like Frazier's very close behind.
So yeah, Busatai finishes first with a time of 1:44:40, according to... Yeah, Busatai finished with a time of 1:44:40, and Phrase just finished with a time of 1:45:14. according to racetime.gg. Congratulations, both runners.
No, Chef is the next closest, correct? Or no?
I think he just went into Mithril Mine too.
Oh, that's a problem if he did that. Yeah. If you're...
Yeah, he did, I think.
Oh, that's a problem.
Oh no. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's not moving.
All right, RJ seems to have almost caught up to where he messed up at. He's now dying in. He's now in flashback mode, in the flashback normally, but is now dying to transfer flashback mode over to his file that's past the flashback and past calm. Really, the main reason why we do calm skip is just so we can get a file that's far enough ahead in the story so that we can escape to the world map after we warp back into the flashback. If you want to know more about how this works and about the history and the development of routes like this, Death Unites Us or 4-8 Productions actually made a really good video about the history of the Wrong Warp. Welcome in, Phrase viewers.
Ooh, boosted tie too.
Welcome in. And GG.
Nice race. So what are we winning? Like self-respect, I guess. Bragging rights.
Congratulations on second place, Phrase.
GG, man.
Yeah, GG.
Thank you, thank you. Just trying to get onto the page now to see how everyone else is doing.
Yeah, you got second place and not by very much. Like Busatai
Yeah.
got in first before you, but no one else got in. No one else got in before them.
I'm so
Zergu and
surprised about that.
Yeah, Zergu and RJ were ahead for a while, but Zergu got a really unfortunate death to Rufus, and RJ entered Mithril Mines after in the middle of his Wrong Warp setup.
Oh no, so he has to do the whole thing again, hey?
Yeah, he's just about wrapping it up though. Again, he just got his encounter 65 and is about to win his debug room warp fight, but it looks like Feckway is gonna finish before he did.
Yeah, it all looks relatively close, hey?
Yeah, Feckway's using the swag braver.
Braver swag.
GG to Feckway, but he hasn't stopped his race timer yet.
GG Feckway.
RJ's in the debug room.
Hey, Busatai.
Hey,
GG.
hey. Yo,
Congrats, dude.
yo, couldn't have done it without you, my friend.
Big run, man, big run. Be proud of it.
Dude, I was so angry in the beginning of that run. You asked my chat because the RNG was just so trash.
That's right, you overcame.
Yeah, well, the 3 encounter elevator was huge because I was running against a 5 encounter with a bolt miss. But GG to you, bro.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Started off very rocky. I missed avalanche skip and battle skip again, and then I also missed preemptive apps because I was just way too far behind on movement.
Oof.
So that was like 2.5 minutes off the bat.
Yeah,
RJ's going with Braver Strat. Braver Strat.
Cloud had the wimpiest Braver on apps I've ever seen in my life with a 450.
Oh man,
And so I was like, oh,
so
crap.
bad.
Plus being like plus 30 already, I was like, ah, crap.
Just goes to
Yeah.
show that anything can happen in these kind of races.
I totally,
Mm.
100%. GG RJ
GG.
and GG Feck as well.
Chef did go back into the Mithril Mine, so he unfortunately has to do what RJ did and do it all back again.
Now, both of those guys yesterday were just talking about how they should do some practice, but they couldn't really be bothered. And now look what's happened.
Eh.
Actually, no,
there.
Chef did do a couple of runs.
I remember one of these races where I like looked up to any percent step route literally like the day before.
How'd that go for you?
Badly.
Ooh, Life 2 on solo. I think everybody's gotten Life
Yeah.
2.
The Life 2 kind of day.
I didn't get one. Amazingly.
Nice.
Nice.
Looked like it was going to do it, though. Cloud did die.
Zaiden's just finishing up.
Yeah, looking like a sizable PB incoming. Is that 9 minutes?
Nice.
So he's probably just gonna let Cloud counter Sephiroth's attack? Or will he swag?
He's going for the swag.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
Give
why not?
him that
You gotta
swag.
do it.
Yeah, RJ got 4th place with a race time of 1:50:20, and Zaiden got 5th place with a race time of 1:53:02.
GG Zaiden. Nice PB as well.
Solo having trouble with photo skip here. It's a little finicky.
Yeah, it can be a pain.
There we go.
Welcome in. GG.
Welcome in.
Nice run, Fuckway. How you doing?
Oops.
Hello, RJ watchers.
Yo, RJ. Will he join the voice chat?
Welcome in, Feckway's viewers. So yeah,
I don't,
number two.
again, I don't want to sound like a boomer here. Allow me to, but back when this was like probably right after RJ figured out this the mansion skip, which we don't use that in this run now anymore, I don't think, but
Yeah.
You had to like really hope that you didn't die like on that. I think it was the 2 purple birds on the mountain. It's like this has come a long way. This run.
Yeah. I kind of miss
Yeah,
managing
can't
skip.
skip.
It was
Oh, sorry.
fun.
Yeah, Mansion Skip was sweet.
You can still technically do it. It's just very slow now.
Mm-hmm.
G'day, Feck.
Hey guys.
Yo.
GG to
Oh,
every-
GG.
GG, dude.
Yeah. I've had the worst elevator, 5 elevator, in before 5 elevator, but regardless, still a good run. GG to everyone.
Nice.
And
Archie threw it. Yeah.
what? So what happened to Zergu? Was it Rufus?
Yeah, Rufus. He got a 137 Braver, attack miss, and I don't think there was a crit in there from shotgun, but at that point, any amount of shotgun damage is gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's
Right.
brutal.
Okay.
Yeah, it
That's
was
brutal.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chef Bomb actually got something sort of similar, but he was in the back row the whole time, so it was fine. Oh, Chef Bomb does it
No!
again! No!
Oh, no.
Don't hold a direction out of the fight if you're doing a spin manip. Don't do
Dang.
it.
Oh.
Looks like Chef's thrown in the
or
towel.
just as a tip, if you're doing a spin manip, you can walk a little bit left and then hold L1. You don't have to hold L1 and spin immediately.
Oh, that
So
sucks.
so I have a question. I have a
I'm
question.
sorry,
that
Chef.
is
I'm
really-
sorry.
So about the encounter 65 manipulation, if we are doing up and down, we cannot at one point release up or down.
Yeah, you need to
Has to
hold. You usually want to hold both up and down, and like on your keyboard, and then release down so that you keep going up. Like when
Right,
you
I
hold
see.
both up and down, you go down slowly, and then you just release down so you go back up again,
Ah,
and then just that way you'll always like on every frame of movement you'll always be holding at least one of up or down, so you'll just keep moving constantly.
right. Thanks. Thank you.
It's sort of tricky, but it definitely works, and it's easy to do if you know what you need to do.
Yeah, at this point, probably keyboard is a better choice to do that up and down.
Yeah, you
The only
can.
choice.
Oh yeah, you do need keyboard to do an up and down manip. In theory, you could have up down manips for the chocobo manip as well, but it would be difficult to transition from moving right out of the stables to up and down without inputting right for even a single frame in the overworld.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty finicky. You can do it from the other bottom of the wrench if you re-enter though, but it's not really worth the time.
Like generally, the idea with world map manips is that, or like just the idea with world map RNG is that RNG advances on every frame that you're pressing any of left, right, L1, or R1. So, and it also advances in that area because of the Zolom. It advances every so often, and the amount by which, and like the length of time between when it advances is also random and is dependent on RNG. So you really do need to keep everything synchronized with how the Zolom is working. So you can't like delay at all, because then the Zolom will most likely then call RNG at a different rate of time, and then it just desyncs everything, and yeah.
Right.
That's kind of what makes manipulating that's what makes manipulating this part of the game a little bit frustrating, and that's why you need to be pretty specific with your manips for both the Chocobo and for Encounter 65. If you have manips in other parts of the game for other runs, they don't really have to be as specific as long as you understand the rules of how left, right, L1, R1 work in the overworld. Yeah, Solos doesn't look like Solos is either Solos isn't going for a manip or he failed to the manip. Regardless, he just got the correct encounter, so he's pretty much done the run.
was so nervous of the double bird encounter because everybody had like no health.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, for safety, I'm gonna equip cure. I'll cure Cloud. And then of course I never got double birds because
I
reasons.
had to equip magics on Barrett, and I changed to Raid actually because I prefer his limit break. But because I exit Midgar with 0 grenade, so I had to do that.
I also got the wrong Chocobo encounter. I misread the time. Went back in, reread the time, and then I got the wrong encounter. So I had to use 4 grenades on that instead of 2.
Was it the elephant encounter?
No, it was the double birds.
Oh, the ostriches or whatever.
Yeah, double emu or whatever. And that didn't help because they were already really low health. So I was entering the save for encounter 65 minute. I think Barrett was at like 30 and Cloud was at like 60. And I was like, no, because if I get double birds, it's over.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable.
But I was debating with chat for like the whole 5 minutes through the flashback.
Yeah, I had the I started from level 5 and then I jumped to 13, I jumped to 20, and then I jumped to 27. Basically the
Oh,
lowest
those are-
jump possible.
Yeah, those are
not
all
good.
minimum jumps.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah,
elevator moment.
Yeah, 6 to 13, 13 to 7. So sorry, 13 to 20, 20 to 27. Those are all
Yes.
7 jumps.
All 7 jumps, yeah. So
And GG solo.
Yeah,
GG
congratulations.
All done.
Welcome in solo.
Yo, what up, Solo?
Hi everyone.
GG, dude.
GG's everybody.
hey,
GG.
solos.
This was a good race.
Yeah, congratulations
I'm
on the
looking
run.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to watching that one back. It was a bad time, but I think everyone had soft locks and things, didn't they? It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think everybody's runs kind of went south at some point.
Yeah, great. At least when I got caught a glance of the race, everyone was pretty tight. Like after Walmart, it seemed like there was only about a minute 30 separating first and last, but till we were all in Shinra building, I'd say it was a good race.
Yeah.
But yeah, great, awesome. Who won?
Bustatai actually won.
Congrats, Busatai. Are you looking forward to getting your mini Buster Sword?
Sure. I didn't even know there was a prize, to be fair.
Yeah, winner gets a model Buster Sword.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoy that.
Where is
Yeah,
that coming
Japan.
from, considering that I'm in the States?
I don't know. Who made it?
I think P-Town's in possession of it.
Ah,
Yeah.
well. P-Town.
And it-
You'll have to pry it from his hands.
All right.
You can go ask
Right.
him right now if you want.
Yeah, he's running Hando now.
EBS making it.
Maybe I will.
Maybe I will. But yeah, great.
Oh, Twitch plays speed runs, making it. I see.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be Twitch Play Speedruns making it.
Can we,
yeah.
can we
I
have
think
a
he's-
can we have a pic? Can we have a picture of that as well in the Discord?
Picture
wanna
of
see
it
how it
somewhere.
looks
I
like,
think
yeah.
it might be in this server.
Yeah, it's in the Discord. But yeah, amazing. Thanks, commentary as well. I look forward to hearing your commentary back. I hope you guys had fun commentating.
That was a great time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, at least P-Town, for reaching out and asking me to do it. So yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and GG everyone.
Right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to chill. I might even throw a no slots run in. We'll see.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's what I'm
everybody,
doing,
and
man.
GG's.
Yeah, GG, dude.
Alright, so
Bye.
GG, guys.
Take care,
Take it easy,
everyone.
guys.
Stay safe.
Take care. All.
Bye.
See you.
Con-
Bye.
Congrats again, Boostertai. You slut.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, congrats, Busatai. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm going back to bed. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you all later.
Good night.
Same here. Bye bye.
Yeah, I'm out too because the wife has the kiddo and she's like, "Hey, when are you done?" So that's code for get your rear end out of the computer room. Thank you again for the invite and GG again, everyone.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah, congratulations to everybody. I have a train to catch in a little bit, so I should probably get going soon. But yeah,
Alright, see ya. Good job on the commentary.
thanks. It was pretty fun. Congratulations to everybody who raced. Congratulations to everybody who raced in the previous races, the do we call them semifinals? Just the qualifying races, the ones. Even if you didn't make it to this final race, congratulations. Thanks for joining, and yeah,